got started, of course, on this album here, Outlandos de
Right.
More, which still, it's kind of amazing to listen to it and think like, wow, this came out in 1978 because it's still really fresh.
Very
Um,
fresh. Yeah.
and I wanted to talk with you about the song So Lonely because like I love the tone on that song. Like it's
Mhm.
just the way the chords sound with the strumming and all that. It's just a really good sound. So how did you kind of get the guitar to sound like that on that track?
Well, without putting it on or listening to it, I think mostly in that, I had my Telecaster that lasted for many, well, I still have it, lasted for years, all the way through the Police, right from the beginning to the end. Um, in the studio, I can't remember exactly, but I probably was playing through a Fender Twin. I'm trying to think if there's chorus on the guitar or not, because we didn't have chorus at the beginning. That came about halfway through. So it's something like that. I can't tell you, oh, I've got a very magical way that I did. No, I didn't. I played the rhythm and I played a kind of out there solo on it. Well,
Yeah.
that's about it, really. Yeah.
And then another track from that album I was curious about was Can't Stand Losing You. And specifically the sort of interlude part in the middle of the song. I'll try and explain it as best as I can for any non-guitar players out there, but you use this interesting technique where you sort of bar your fingers across the frets, and
Yeah.
then it sort of shifts the harmonics up so that you can use harmonics in the same key, which is such a brilliant technique. And I was wondering like how you kind of figured out how to do that.
Well, actually, that's a nice question because yeah, I got known for doing that. These sort of harmonics like this, which you learn how to do, and I was taught how to do that by Lenny Breau, who is the greatest Canadian guitarist. He's no longer with us. He died in Los Angeles some years ago. But I had a couple of lessons with Lenny Breau. When I was on tour with the Police, the first time I met him was in Nashville, and he came to my hotel, and we sat around for a couple of hours, and he showed me a lot of stuff. Fantastic guitarist, and he's Canadian, and so it was something that I had. And can you see that? And I was able to. Most guitarists didn't do that; they didn't know it, but
Mhm.
I knew it, and I knew it from Lenny, and so I put it in the middle of "Can't Stand Losing You," where it worked really well. This sort of chiming effect of that, and I've always used it, played it.
Mhm.
Other guys have gotten onto it, and some people have taken it a long way out. You have to work out your chords that you can play with it because you can't really have repeating octaves or anything, and it doesn't work. You've almost got to have six different notes to make it really be at its best. I've
Mhm.
worked that out. There's a number of chord voicings that where you can do that without repeating anything, and some of them are pretty strange, but it's a
Yeah.
right hand technique where you pluck the lowest note with your thumb, and then you off the top. It's difficult to show without a guitar, but
Yeah. It's almost kind of like tapping in a way.
it's a bit like tapping. It's a more sort of outside technique where
Hmm.
you're not, you're playing this, holding a note and hitting the string with a pick. It's the guitar can do a lot of things. I never got into tapping. I've sort of looked at it a few times, but I grew up, my charts technique all came from another area, which was really jazz guitar. So my focus was always being able to play great long lines over moving chords. I grew up, listening to Wes Montgomery and people like that. And so my ear was trained to be able to hear all these other, outside of the scales kinds of approaches to harmony.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then on the next album, Regatta de Blanc, I don't think we can talk about this album without talking about Message in a Bottle. I've heard you say it's your favorite Police song, and I can definitely see where you're coming from with that opinion. So, would you say that it's like the song that defines the band's sound?
Well, it is to me. I think it's kind of got it all. It's a great song structure with a nice chorus, but it moves through. It's got an A, B, and a C section, and the riff is a beautiful way of outlining the chord that's not standard by any means, but it's got this sophisticated verse thing with the great guitar signature, and then it goes into a bit more rock with that first thing, and then it drops down again. You know, again, that's another place. It's in C sharp minor, but it ends that third section on an F sharp minor chord, which of course I was able to do those harmonics. You know,
Mhm.
that was a perfect place for it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It's I know actually, and it's interesting with the riff because if you listen carefully, there's actually another like a harmonizing guitar part under
yeah,
the
there
main
is.
riff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I play
Um
that. Yeah, I mean, I can't play it live.
mhm.
Occasionally, yeah, might do something like, well, so I play with the band in Brazil and we play it, you know, I play the line, and so, you know, once in a while I just throw in like the harmonic line instead of the standard line, just to kind of, I don't know, be a little bit kinky with the guitar part. Like, what's that? You know, back to the standard. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fun. Yeah,
Yeah. It truly is like an all-time great song though, because it's
yeah,
just it's simple, but it's hard to play, like you got to stretch your
yeah,
hands all the
yeah.
way
I see guys
across.
trying to play it and they can't play it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta have the
And
stretch.
And it's just the fact that my band and I we played it at a show earlier this year, and it was in
Yeah.
like a club with 100 people. And when you
Hmm.
get to the end where it's sending out an
Yeah.
SOS, everyone's singing along and the adrenaline's
Yeah, it's
pumping, and it's
amazing. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Well, we feel very good about that. Yeah.
yeah,
It's like, you know, it was years ago, but you know, one's life is extended in a club in Canada, so on and so forth. It's a very nice feeling that. Yeah, I like it.
Then the next album, Zenyatta Mondada, I wanted to ask you about the song Driven to Tears.
Yeah,
And so the one part that always caught my ear was the guitar solo. And it's really interesting because it comes in hot and it's got this kind of twisted, sort of sinister feel to it.
yeah.
So, what scale were you using for that
Well, it's
solo?
a kind of I can almost see it. I think it's in A minor, and I think you know, I played some pretty out notes on probably flat fifths because, you know, I was trying to match the lyric, which is pretty dark, you know, about not good feelings. You know, it's like a blues in a way. So it's
Hmm.
you couldn't do a really chirpy, unthinking rock solo on it. It had to match the lyric. For some reason, I'm thinking G, D, A. It was against the harmony, you know, so it was sort of atonal. It was more like an atonal lick. Well, not lick, a solo too, because that's what I wanted, and I think it really works very well.
Yeah.
You know, I
It
didn't, you know, if the song was in A minor, I did not play A minor pentatonic like a blues thing. I went to another place with it, which felt very appropriate to me. So it was a deliberate choice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on the next album, Ghost in the
Ah,
Machine.
you just go out and buy all that. We're going
Yeah.
to keep going here. Mm.
Um, Now that record starts with the track Spirits in the Material World. And I've seen a few interviews with Stewart where he said that that's the most difficult Police song to play. Do you agree with that assessment?
Not necessarily. Maybe his rhythm was difficult. I mean, for me, you know, it's interesting in the fact that it uses minor ninth chords, but with the extended the ninth under the triad, if you like. So if you're playing D minor, which is, I think, oh, did we do this? Maybe we did it in A minor. You know,
Yeah.
say it was a D minor chord, D minor triad at the 10th fret, so you'd have D, A, F. And then the ninth would be the E, which so you'd have to stretch your finger up to get that ninth. And the line is on that, you know, with the um, from the E on the fourth string to the D and then down to the next chord, which is the A minor, I think. But that's what that sound. It's pretty sophisticated, but it works well as a, you know, kind of a, you know, it's a sort of almost like a jazz chord that works pretty well in the sort of pop song thing as the riff. Yeah. So, but of course, I could play it with no problem.
Hmm.
Again, it's
Um,
a bit of a stretcher, but yeah,
yeah,
it wouldn't
it
be for
definitely is.
everyone.
Another track from that album I wanted to go over was Secret Journey, which has such a cool guitar part.
We
And
never played it, oddly.
uh-huh.
I don't, I mean, when we did it, I thought, oh, this is a good one. This is going to be great to play live. But we did it once or twice, and then, you know, some weird reason, Sting sort of refused to ever sing it ever again. That was the
Hmm,
end of that. I think we did it
interesting.
2 times, and I can't remember much about it, except at the time I thought, oh, this is going to be great, this one.
Yeah.
We never incorporated it into our repertoire, weirdly.
It's got almost kind of like a spacey science fiction feel
Mm.
to it, I find.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we get to the end here, the big album, of course, Synchronicity,
Mm.
which in my opinion I think is one of the best albums of all time. And I would say my favorite track on the album, at least to play on guitar, is Synchronicity 2. And I think that track is one of the great riff songs. Like it's just each section of that song has its own,
Yeah.
intricate
Yeah, it
riff.
is. It's a lot of fun to play. And, I have a trio in South America that I usually play with every year. We tried different things over the years, but we play all police hits now, and it's become very successful. We often open the show with Synchronicity too.
Mhm.
It's a great one to play. It's a lot of fun because of all those parts. Yeah, a very very good guitar song. Yeah.
Were when you were creating that song, like were all the riffs in it like created with the song in mind, or were they sort of individual parts that you put together from other
I listened to the
things?
lyrics and then gradually kind of worked out how to, fit it all together, because it starts with a kind of a minor seventh chord pull off. Well, it's not a straight minor seventh because you're adding in, starts on F sharp minor seven. You're adding in the ninth above it as a pull off lick. I don't know if you're a guitar player, you understand it.
Hmm.
You're using your little finger to
Yeah,
pull
it's
the
sort of
lick
like that. Yeah.
before it goes into da 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 A major, da, 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 da. Yeah. I mean, it's not technically very difficult, but you've got to be musical to play it and play it with, the correct, rhythm and everything and all the
Hmm.
parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's an exciting song and it's a great one to kick off a show with.